Hello, this is Christian Okoye, former Kansas City Chiefs. You are listening to Grilling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to the NFL's Grueling Truth Legends Show, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, an interactive football app where you get to call what you think the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. Check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. I'm your host, as always, for the Legend Show, Mike Goodpaster, and we have a very special guest today. I'm sure if you guys listen to the show, you know I'm a huge Bengals fan. I was born the same year they were. I have a guy on today that I think should be in the Professional Football Hall of Fame. Was the best cornerback, I think, in Bengals history. Help me welcome to the show, Leapin' Lemar Parrish. How you doing? Almost called you Leapin'. How you doing, Lemar?
Oh, fine. You could call me Leapin'. That's what everybody knows me about anyway, Mike. How you doing today?
All right, great. It's always great to have a Bengals legend on.
Hey, well, I'm great, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your early life, when you first started playing football, what drew you to it, and then how you ended up at Lincoln University. Also, I know you started off as a running back.
Hey, right. You know, the football was a dream of mine, becoming the greatest football player in the world, you know what I'm saying? Not just to be good, but I wanted to be the greatest. And I knew that there were things that I had to do because of my size, you know, that I was always the underdog, that people looked at my size. I played high school ball at about 165 pounds. I went to college as a little boy, you understand. The coach called me a little boy, and I had to prove myself there. He didn't want to give me a chance, and finally I got the chance, and that's all this history, you understand what I mean? But you're correct. I never played defense before. I was a running back, punt return, kickoff return specialist in college. And I was drafted as an athlete by the Bengals. Thank God to Jack Donaldson, Paul Brown. You know, they drafted me in the 7th round as an athlete. Not ever playing defensive back before. I went and trained myself on the beaches, backpedaling, and coming out of the breaks, running the 40-yard dash, building my stamina up, and, you know, things like that. I was a gifted athlete. I just had to work on things, and thank God that I have a great coach, and Coach Weber, who I consider the best coach that ever taught defensive backs. Ken Riley and I really learned a lot from him, and I'm grateful.
And Ken Riley, if I remember, was drafted. He was a quarterback in college.
Yes, he was. Ken was transferred also to a defensive back. So, you know, that goes to show that an athlete could play anywhere that the size would allow him to play. In fact, that they wanted to play me both ways as a rookie, but Paul needs a defensive back. He needed a cornerback, so he said no, that I was going to specialize in defensive backs. And the strike had a lot to do with it because during the year of 1970, the guys was out on strike, and I had a chance to learn a lot of things one-on-one by Chuck Weber, who I consider the greatest coach that ever taught defensive back, because I was green. I didn't have any bad habits. Chuck taught me from day one techniques and fundamentals, and I never forgot those things. So those things carried me for 13 years.
Now, was the transition from running back to defensive back difficult for you at all, or were you just such a great athlete that no matter what you did, you were going to be great at it?
Not really. I made the transition pretty smoothly because I had great coaching. Coach Weber taught me techniques and fundamentals. You understand what I mean? I was a little awkward in my stance, but he didn't change my stance. He just worked on me positioning myself and how to get things done. And I really appreciate that. And
when the Bengals drafted you, did they let you know right then they were going to put you at defensive back?
Yes, they did. Yes. I came in working as a defensive back, punt return, kickoff return specialist. See, they knew I was going to run punt and kickoff back because I'd proven that in college. Because of my size, that they just didn't know where to put me at. But they needed defensive backs at the time, and I fit the mold because of my speed and my quickness, my agility, and stuff like that, so that I was taught well.
All right, now you got there. They had a legendary coach and owner, Paul Brown. What was your relationship with Coach Brown like at the beginning?
I'll tell you, Paul was strictly business. You understand me? I admire a lot, and I learned a lot from him. You understand? The organization was phenomenal. You understand me? That we was always punctual. We was always well trained. We was always disciplined, and I really learned a lot from him. You know, I came there as a little boy, but I left there as a man, you know. So I learned a lot from the organization, from the coaches, and Paul Brown or Mike Brown was, hey, you know, they was great guys to me. There, we just had a little differences in the pay scale, you understand me, the contract problem, but that's the only problem that I had. And I looked at that as being business, you understand me, because I know NFL, that stands for not for long. So I was on top of my game, and I needed my work because I was going to the All-Star game the same time that Mel Blount and all those guys are in the Hall of Fame today. And every time they was going, I was going. You understand me? Because I was leading the league and everything that was there. Punt return, kickoff return, pass interception, you name it. You understand? I led the league in all of those things. So, hey, you know, I made the transition pretty smoothly.
Well, I mean, you had your breakout game had to be the 1970 Buffalo game. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about your game against the Bills?
Well, I tell you, during the preseason that I had been coming close to breaking a punt return back. I can't recall Paul Brown saying the Parrish going to break one soon. And Buffalo was my breakout game. I can't recall. I think about the kickoff punt return, something back by 83-yard punt return. Hey, so on. But, shoot, that's where I made my mark at there, the first game of the season there with Buffalo.
Yeah, and in 1970 season, the Bengals got off to the worst start by any team that ever made the playoffs. You guys started off 1-6, went on a 7-game winning streak to go 8-6 and win the division. What are your biggest memories from that season?
Hey, well, the memories are that I played with a great group of guys, you understand me? That we were like family. We cared about one another. We worked hard. You know, I played with a group of guys that there was no slacking off, you understand? Playing for Coach Paul Brown, that you could not slack off because you had to get the job done, he would find somebody else. And we understood that, but we loved each other. We played the game for each other as a team. And quite naturally that we had great coaching also. And the organization, we was young, you understand me, we was inexperienced, and we made it put off our first year there.
Yeah, your first year there, which was only the team's third year in existence, and it's not like today where they try to even the playing field. Back then, they did everything they could to keep the Bengals from being a contender right away just because of how much Paul Brown had dominated the NFL when he was in Cleveland. So, I mean, to make the playoffs in the third year was remarkable. You guys go to Baltimore, lose to Johnny Unitas and the Colts, I think 17-0. 71-72 come, and the Bengals still were lacking a quarterback. Greg Cook, I think he was the Rookie of the Year in 1969, had the arm injury. You get Kenny Anderson in. And 71-72 were kind of tough. At 73, you guys won the division, 10-4. Actually gave Miami a really good game. You want to talk a little bit about the 73 season?
73 season, when we went down to Miami, that Miami was a dominant team then. As you know, that they kind of beat us up a little bit because during the time that you could cut receivers, you could do all kind of stuff back there. And our receivers caused trouble getting off the line because the linebacker was cutting them, they were chopping them, they were doing all kinds of stuff to them. And we wasn't used to that, so that Miami had a great game plan. They took away our passing attack, which was Isaac Curtis and those guys, you understand me? Because and then we had running back that got hurt. Johnson got hurt, if I can recall, early in the game. And that kind of threw us behind the 8 ball there. But they was pretty dominant during that year. Now,
you also played in the defensive backfield, I think 73 through 76. One of the best probably the best defensive backfield in Bengals history. Yourself, Ken Riley, Tommy Casanova. You want to talk a little bit about those guys?
Oh, yeah, those guys were phenomenal. You understand me? We used to love passing teams, because we matched up pretty well with anybody. That was Pittsburgh. That was anybody because of the man-to-man techniques that we was able to play across the board. Therefore, we was able to send a lot of people. We was able to blitz. We was able to adjust our defense to anything they could run. So that those guys was true athletes. You know what I'm saying? Tom Casanova, strong safety. We had Neil Craig, Ken Riley on the other side of me, and we was locked down corners pretty much. You understand me? That we was predominantly man-to-man coverage. And that kind of threw teams off because I don't care who we played. We was going to play man-to-man, that you knew where we was going to be, but it was your job to beat us. But those guys was great athletes, and we led the conference several times there on pass defense because teams didn't want to throw, you know what I'm saying? They'd rather run the ball than to throw.
Yeah. Yeah, especially back then. You had teams like the Dolphins that won Super Bowl VII and I think threw 7 passes during the game. But you get to the 75 season, which I think that 75 Bengals team was just as talented as the 2 Bengals teams that, in future years after that went to the Super Bowl. You guys lost a close game to Oakland, 31-28. What was the Bengals Steelers rivalry like back then? Because you guys were a great team. It's just it seemed like you always ran into the Dolphins, Raiders, or Steelers, who were maybe greater teams.
Hey, we did. One thing is that football is a game of matchups. You know what I'm saying? That we matched up well with the Steelers. Even though we had all the great athletes, we had the no-name guys, really. But we matched up well because of our speed and quickness and our ability to play man-to-man across the board because we played the Swan, the Star Wars, and all those guys man-to-man. We didn't zone them. We man-to-man them. You understand? Just like we did everybody else because we thought that we had the best secondary in the conference. So we played them pretty well. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time during my career that we beat them one time a year, if I can recall. They never dominated us twice a year. Very seldom, as I can recall. You know what I'm saying? It has been a long time. But we would usually beat them at home. When we go up there, they would beat us. So except for the year they had that dominant team, you know what I'm saying? Didn't lose a game. So that we messed up pretty well. Whipped them there. We was not afraid of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we get to 1976, so you kind of touched on this before. I know you asked for a trade. Was it during or before the 76 season? You want to go through the little disagreement you had with the Brown family?
Hey, well, I didn't disagree with the Brown family. That I just agreed with the salary that I was being paid and the salary that I was being offered. Because, see, I was going to the Pro Bowl every year that Mel Blount and all those guys were there, and we talked, you know what I'm saying? The Mel was making way more than I was. I was doing more for my team. I was doing just as much for my team as he was doing with his because I run punt returns, kickoff returns, and starting on defense. And I was going to the Pro Bowl every year that he was going. I don't know how many times that he made it, maybe 9 or something like that, maybe 8.
You made it 6, didn't you, over like 7 or 8 years?
I made it 6 over 8 there. I went to the Redskins. I made it 2 back-to-back. I led the league over there. And the reason I led the league over there is because they were throwing passes that I didn't see over there with the Bengals, you understand me? I didn't know why they didn't know me, you know what I'm saying, because nothing changed. And if you can recall, when I went to the Redskins, I had a record going. I think I had 7 interceptions in the first 7 games, which I saw more balls over there than I ever seen. And I just broke on the ball as usual. And, I played my game. I took my show on the road, you know what I'm saying? I could have played anywhere in the secondary, you know what I'm saying, because I was a lockdown corner.
So what was it like joining the Redskins? I think Jack Kent Cooke was the owner then. What was it like, the atmosphere around that team? I know Jack Pardee was the coach.
It was a great organization, you know what I'm saying, but the Bengals would always be my favorite team because I got to know the organization, Coach Paul Brown, Mike Brown, they always were good to me. You understand me? I didn't have any